Afternoon. Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School. This is part 2 of the 2-part series that I started with the last video I put up on hauling your horses. And we'll put a link to that first video in the description of this one. And if you haven't seen it yet, I recommend you watch it before you watch this, because these things are in order. Also, before we get started, I want to go ahead and let you know that we do have a podcast now, Dry Creek Wrangler Podcast. You can listen to it anywhere that you listen to your other podcast. Eventually, what I want to do is I want to move all of the philosophy, motivation, cigar videos. I want to move them to that and slowly start bringing the channel back to the horse stuff. There's a plan. That's what we're working on, okay? So anyhow, if you haven't checked that out, it'd be a big help to us if you want to go check that out. Now, we talked about the truck last time. I'm not going to go back and go over that. We talked about the trailer. There's a couple other things I want to point out on the trailer before we move to the next component in this equation. Truck, and then trailer, and then you, and then the horse. That's the level of importance of things you have to make sure is right. Now, you'll notice, Mama, if you'll step back and kind of look at the trailer as a whole, especially along here, if you notice, this trailer is kind of tilted back. You notice the tail of the trailer is lower than the front, okay? Now, back up here. Now, the reason this is high like this is because I've got it cranked up so I can get that big truck, that 1-ton truck, in underneath here. Now, on these goosenecks, they telescope. Mom, if you'll come around here and look at here, if you were to loosen these bolts, this part here drops up and down. I've got this one all the way up. And now why this is important, when you go to haul, okay, when you go to haul, you want your trailer to be as level as you can make it, all right? The reason why is because the more tilted you are, the more weight you have on the back axles, which means you have more weight on the back tires. It's not just it's uncomfortable for the horses to be tilted going down the road, but your load is not set up right. It's not distributed properly around the trailer. So if you've got a bumper pull trailer, get the type of drop receiver hitch that you need. They make different kinds, different ones. You research out what you need. Get what you need to make your trailer as level as you can. Now, if you're tilted just a little bit up in the front when the trailer is empty, the possibility is when you load your horses in, everything's going to drop just a little bit. But you want it to be as level as you can get it. That's pretty important. You want to adjust these as much as you can to make it the trailer as level as you can make it, okay? I didn't cover that last time. That's pretty important, all right? Now, so the third component in this equation here, the truck, the trailer, the next thing is you. And I'll explain in a minute why we cover the horses, why the horses are actually the least important in this equation, all right? Now, I can have my truck set up good. I can have this trailer set up good, but I can put the wrong driver in the truck and we can still have a wreck. All right, you need to be the kind of driver, you need to drive alert. Now, I know they talk driving defensively, but that really, really comes into play when you're hauling livestock in a truck and a trailer going down the highway. You need to be driving, you need to be alert of everything that's around you. Who's coming up behind you, who's pulling up down here. We've got stoplights ahead, we need to be ready for that. You need to be a very proactive driver. And you also need to slow the heck down, all right? One of the things that really ticks me off is when I see these trucks with these trailers with 3 or 4 horses in it going down the interstate 80 miles an hour. You don't need that nonsense, okay? If you're in that big a hurry, start sooner. You've got the lives of several livestock that have no choice. They didn't ask for this and they don't have a choice, all right? You've got them in your hands. Slow the heck down. You've got all the people on the interstate that are driving around you that have no choice, and you're putting everybody's life in danger Because if you've got a big rig, you've got a 9,000 pound truck. A larger one of these trailers will start out at 13,000 pounds and go up, plus the weight of the horses. You have one blowout. All right, you have one problem, and you've got a major wipeout for everybody. The faster you go, it's exponential. It expands exponentially. All right, slow down. Be a safe driver. And I've talked to people. I thought about doing it in the school this year, and I've known people who's like on ranches. They got young people who are going to start hauling horses in trailers. They make the kid get in the trailer. And then they drive them around the pastures and stuff, let the kid ride in the trailer so the kid gets an understanding, the person gets an understanding of what's going on back there. Your starts, you need to take off smooth. You need to slow down smooth, and you need to stop smooth. Your turns need to be smooth. You need to be aware of the seams where the bridges meet the highway, where they're rough. All right, you need to be aware of railroad tracks. You need to be aware of potholes. You need to be aware of all this stuff. And you need to drive like you're hauling precious cargo, because you are. So if you normally typically drive down the road in some little sedan or some hopped up half-ton pickup truck, 70, 80 mile an hour, zipping through traffic and everything, you need to stop and you need to think about it, all right? You need to drive this responsibly, all right? Okay, so it's you. You need to work on you. You need to get some practice. You need to make sure you have the right state of mind. You need to make sure you're paying attention. You're not going down the road texting and with your radio cranked up and banging and carrying on and just not aware. You need to drive this like the lives of those around you, the lives in the trailer, and your life are dependent on it, because they are. Okay? You need to learn how to back a trailer. Back it at home. All right? You buy a trailer, you're at home, practice backing that trailer. As I mentioned in the last video, a gooseneck trailer is going to back different than a bumper pull, okay? So before you get on a highway with a precious load, have some experience and know what you're doing, okay? And then the last thing is the horse. And the horse is going to have to do with the trailer, and this is where we're going to get in the nuts and bolts of what people want to know about, okay? Now, there are a lot of different opinions about a lot of this stuff, and like I said before, I'm just giving you how I do, what's important to me, all right? Now, this trailer is listed as a 3-horse. See if this will go back here and stay. Now, I will say, on one of the things that's Dwayne, I will never buy another horse trailer that has a ramp, okay? They have a lot of them, they'll have the ramp, you close the doors, the ramp comes up and latches, or the ramp is the lower half of the 2 doors, so the ramp comes down, the horse is supposed to walk up the ramp. I've never had horses move up a ramp as easy as I've had them just step in the trailer. Now, I deal with a lot of different horses. If you've got your set horses, you can train them to go up and down a ramp over time. But if you do a lot of different horses, the ramp is not as ideal as it seems. It's not natural to the horse. It has a little bit of give to it. It has that hollow sound when they step on it. It's just not natural footing. All right, they can step up on a ledge. They can step over a log. Stepping is natural. Climbing a hollow ramp is not. That's just me. So this is a 3-horse trailer, and this is a slant load. Now, what it means slant load is just like it sounds. Instead of bringing the horse in and tying the horse nose and tying the other horse nose back out here, you slant load them. You bring them in, and you bring them, this wall is slanted, and you tie them up here, and they're at a slant. Now, I prefer a slant load for two main reasons. I think it's easier for the horse. I think they travel easier. I think if you look at physics and your truck is going down the road this way straight, your horse is standing nose straight. When you put on the brakes, their nose comes into the wall, and it's harder for them sometimes to get that foot out. It's harder for them to be stable, all right? But if they're at an angle from the direction that the truck is going, they've got their legs and they can stable themselves. It just seems to me that, in my experience, the horses, they have a little bit easier time. The other thing is safety for the person, all right? So if I'm loading 3 horses in here, I bring the one horse in, and then he moves sideways down the wall, and I tie him up, and I walk out. And then I load the next one, and then I load the next one. Now, where this becomes safe, my big horse, Boone, doesn't like horse trailers. He doesn't like being in horse trailers. So he's easy to load, okay? It's nothing like that. He just doesn't like to be in them. So when I park, and I'm working on it to improve him on this, he gets a little agitated. I really like it. And so, but unloading horses, especially if you've got young horses or fractious horses, this trailer does not have a man door. A lot of them will have a door on the side. If you get in a bind, you can escape. All right, this one doesn't have that. But with a slant load trailer, I'm always facing the door. There's nothing between me and the door. If I get a new horse that I don't know, and that horse is a little bit fractious, there's a problem, okay? There's nothing between me and the door. So I can come in here, as long as I keep his butt over there, I can untie him, lead him out and get some control. But if things just go nuts all of a sudden, I have my escape route. As long as I can be faster than the horse trying to run over top of me, but it's safer. I can go in, untie the first horse, peel him out, untie the second horse, peel him out, untie the third horse, peel him out. Okay? That's just me. I will say, when you go to buy a trailer, if they have rubber mats on the floor, we'll cover rubber mats in a minute. Pick up the rubber mats and check the floor, okay? With livestock, they pee. That's uric acid. And it's just moisture on a wooden floor. This is aluminum floor here, okay? This floor is all aluminum up in there. And so you want to look for rust, you want to look for rotten wood that's under the mats and you can't see it. So talking about mats, now here's where a lot of folks differ from me, okay? And that's fine. You need rubber mats. Now I went riding with somebody the other day, and they rented a trailer from the co-op, and they had a wooden floor, and they had like hog wire stapled and nailed down to the floor for traction. All right, that 4 square woven wire. The problem with that is, if your horse is shod and that corner of that horseshoe out here a little bit can get in under that wire, now you can have some issues. The wood is too slick. They're going to pee on it. Like I said, it's going to get wet and it's going to get slick. So you don't want bare wood. I've done it, but it's not ideal. And I've had horses literally slip and fall in the trailer, okay? So rubber mats are ideal. Now, here's where we're going to differ. I never put shavings, pine shavings, stall shavings, I never put those on a wooden floor. I don't do it, okay? Now, put them on this is a different story if you want to do that, but if you have just a bare wooden floor or a bare metal floor, I do not ever put pine shavings on there because it just makes things slicker, okay? It just makes the footing much more treacherous, especially once they pee, they relieve themselves in there, it gets wet, and then that's just when you get to your destination or you're done with the ride, you've got something else to clean out, something else to dispose of, okay? So I don't do it. And there's another reason that I don't do it. The other thing I don't do it, and I'll tell you why, I'm going to tell you together, is you'll not find hay in my trailer. No hay bags, no hay nets. When I'm running a trailer that has the manger, I don't put hay in the manger. My horses do not travel with hay, okay? Number one, hay, the dust and everything gets on the floor, and again, especially if you've got a bare wooden floor, it's going to make the floor slicker, all right? Secondly, I don't want my horse breathing that. If you've got a little bit of the window open to get a little air in, you got some breeze going around, you've got that chaff and dust from the hay or from your pine bedding that's coming up. I've had so many horses show up to the school this year, guest horses, they brought their horses, They opened the door and brought them out, and their nose was running, and they were coughing, and they coughed for 2 days while they're here, trying to cough all that stuff out of their lungs. They're not going to starve to death. They're not going to die. The other thing about a hay net is, I've seen hay nets tied. I don't know if you can see, Momma. So they got these light rings here, and people will tie a hay bag or a hay net to that, and it hang down. All right, maybe right here. Well, you get a horse that paws, and I saw a horse, a guest horse this year, get a foot hung up in their hay net. That's something for them to get hung up in, and so I just don't do it. If you hang it high, then the horse is up here eating. Well, then now all that airway is unobstructed, and so they're breathing in all that dust and chaff. Okay? Feed your horse before you leave. Feed them when you get to their destination, if they're on the road for a while, and they'll be fine. Okay? It's a whole lot safer and a whole lot better for them than if you've got slick footing in here and you got them breathing all that stuff. Your horse's respiratory system is one of their most, I don't know about the word fragile, but one of the most fragile systems, okay? And it's sometimes it's one that we're the most careless about, okay? So, Dwayne, what about going long distance? Put your horse in the trailer of a morning when you head out and go. I don't get them out of the trailer until I'm stopped for the night. Now, I've hauled horses where I've hauled them overnight and kept going the next day. And wherever I stop, if it's safe, if it's possible, I will get them out for the night, walk them around a little bit, feed them and water them, and then put them secure for the night. But I don't stop on the side of the road. If you feel like you need to stop every 2 to 4 hours on the side of the road to give them a break, that's fine. But leave them in the trailer. Leave them in the trailer. I mean, where are you going to stop? A lot of times you're going to stop on a rest area on the side of the road, or drive around the back behind a truck stop, or pull into a Walmart parking lot. And what's going to happen? You're surrounded by something. What are you surrounded by? You're surrounded by people. And people can be idiots. Not even intending to. You got a horse that's been in here all, for 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours. He gets out and his head's up, and what happened? It's a new place, there's new smells, and they're kind of snorting, and they're like, wow, man, what's going on? And then somebody in a big rig goes by, and they're just saying, hey man, nice horse, but they lay on that air horn. It's not worth the danger. Would they be more comfortable if you took them out? Yes. Would they be safer? No. And if you have to choose between the safety of your horse and the comfort of your horse, always choose safety. Because I guarantee that horse is not going to be comfortable if he spooks and runs through a fence, or runs out in front of a big truck or a motor home, or one of these little yapping rat dogs are leading across the parking lot on a leash that runs up underneath him. Then the comfort it didn't pay off. The payoff isn't there. All right. So if you're making a long distance trip and you're going to spend the night, there are places out there, horse hotels, where you can book ahead and say, I'm coming in, I got 3 horses. They'll have stalls or a place for you to dump them out for the night, get in next morning. What if you don't have that? Well, when I was coming across this spring, I was bringing my 3 horses from Texas, and I can't drive at night. I don't see in the dark. So when it starts getting a little bit dusky, I look for a hole to pull into. And I saw a sign that said RV park. So I pulled off the road and pulled in this RV park. Went in the office, they came out, and I said, do you guys have a place that I could back my trailer into? Somewhere on the back side, back there all the way. I don't need hookups. I mean, I'll pay full price. I'll pay the full RV, money's, that's not the issue. I'll pay the full price. I don't need water hookups. I don't need electrical hookups. I don't need any of that. I just need a spot. And they're like, sure, go down to that lot down there and back in there. So I went down there and backed in and got my 3 horses out. Now I had Boone, Biscuit, and Rodeo. And I carried my own hay with me. And so I tied them up loose on the side of the trailer. And when I mean loose, I mean longer lead ropes, okay, where they could reach the ground. And I broke open a bale of hay, put it at their feet. walked them around a little bit, and then tied them up, put that at their feet, and they just stood there contented all night and stood there and ate that hay. Now, I just slept in my truck, so all I had to do was raise up, look out the back window. Yep, everybody's there, everybody's fine. Got up next morning, fed, watered, walked around, put them in the trailer, and headed on my way. So, it's not that big a rocket science, okay? It's not that big a deal that you have to be that worried. Horses, we don't have to wrap them in bubble wrap, okay? They're pretty hardy, and another thing that I get a lot of questions on, people like, my horse won't drink when I'm on the road. No, they won't, okay? You take in really dry country, Nevada, Arizona, places like that, where they're out in the desert and there's just one water hole for several miles. The Mustangs out there will come to that water hole maybe every 2 days. They don't come every morning and every night and every morning. They'll come, and sometimes 3 days, but that's about the max. They don't have to drink every 4 hours. I've never had a horse that I've been hauling long distance that I stopped at 4 hours and got out and offered them water. I've never had one take a drink. Not one. Never had one take a drink. All right? So if you'll feed them of a morning, water them good of a morning, put them in a trailer, put them in a secure spot, put them up securely, and drive safely, your horses will be in a whole lot better position, whole lot better condition when you get to the other end. Now, I heard somebody the other day, I read somewhere, heard somebody, I don't remember what it was, but it made sense to me. They'll pull over every 2 or 3 hours and stop. And they'll leave the horses in the trailer, but they'll let the trailer isn't moving so they can kind of relax and rest their muscles. That's a good thing. Nothing wrong with that, okay? Just don't get them out of the trailer, all right? I know that flies in the face of whatever, all right? But you listen to them, listen to me, and then you make up your mind what you got to do, because ultimately they're your horses, okay? All right? So there's that. There was one other thing that flew through my mind right there, and I said, man, I got to remember to cover that. And of course it's gone. But I think that was probably the most of the stuff that was important. If you can think of anything else, leave it in the a comment in the comments, and feel free to share your experiences, share your advice, share what you got, how you do it. That's great. All I ever ask is that you be polite and be courteous. That's all I ever ask. I don't ask that you follow along exactly how I do stuff. I just ask you be polite and be courteous, okay? And we all learn from each other, okay? We all learn from each other, and I'm still learning. So, sometimes I see trailers going down the road with those drop-down windows, and I see a horse's head sticking about that far out the window going down the interstate, like the dog out of the truck window. His tongue hanging out. He's like, yeehaw, this is fun. Why don't you just put a gun to his head and shoot him? All right? Big truck goes by with a mirror sticking out and takes his head off. A bumblebee, a fly, it don't take much to hit him in the eye and blind him for life. That's just, don't do that. All right? Just don't do that. There's a reason why on these trailers, good trailers, there's bars on the window. I can open the window, but there's bars. The horse can't get their head out of there. All right? It's up to you to do your horse's thinking. Take care of your horse. The only way you can take care of your horse is by thinking yourself. Okay? All right, so that's it. I'm going to stop here. I think I've been a little bit more scratchy on these 2 videos, but life depends on this. This is important, okay? If your stirrups are too long, your knees hurt, I don't care. All right, that's not life or death. And I don't have to be scratchy about that, but some of this stuff will get you or somebody else or your horse dead. All right? So approach this as it is important as it is. I stumbled all over that, but there you go. All right? So I'm going to cut this video off here. It's outside. It's starting to rain. Mama's going to start shaking in a minute. So much of the video is going to start doing this. All right? Click like if you like. Hit subscribe if you haven't. Click that notification bell. Don't forget about Mama's channel. And again, we have started up the podcast. And let's see, we're fixing to do a video with updates on the school. All right. And well, that's probably the next video we put out, is we're going to sit down, we're going to do a lot more detail and updates on what the school in Wyoming is going to be. But we do have the Patreon account for those who want to support what we're trying to do here. And so let's go back to where we started, okay? Be logical, be reasonable, be safe, and have fun, and get inside out of the rain. We'll catch you guys next time.